Our next speaker is someone that's been active in our community for a number of years and carries a lot of the history of our past and has been schooling me a lot about some of the history. Carleen Cordwell is going to speak to us.
Good afternoon, beautiful New Bedford. First, I'd like us all to recognize and give homage to the land on which we stand. This is the land of the Wampanoag Nation. I just want to give a brief history of how we get to where we are and hopefully how we will get out of where we are. On July 11th, 1970, 3 young white men, Ralph Brown, George Rose, and Gary De La Salle, got in a car, drove through a barrier in the West End where there was some unrest, and Ralph Brown got out of his car, put a shotgun on the hood of his car, and began shooting. He killed 17-year-old Lester Lima, wounded Gordon Ribeiro, who was then 20, Kim Holland, who is now Dr. Kim Holland Pope, age 15, and Randy Robinson, age 14. They were all wounded. Lester died that day. A year later, on May 21st, 1971, those 3 young white boys, Ralph Brown being the son of the principal, Mr. Brown, of New Bedford High School, were all acquitted. There were not even lesser charges sought. They were all acquitted and walked away not spending one day incarcerated. A year later, in August of 1972, the Black Panther Party had been here organizing for that year, since Lester Lima's death. They had an office on Kempton Street with burned out Parashini's, and an office in the old Opium Theater, which is still there. I went on a tour 3 years ago through there, and the door of the Black Panther Party office is still there. So it was an incredible time for all of us. Understanding oppression, where it comes from. And 50 years ago, the Black Panther Party said, in 50 years, which is now, America would be brown, Spanish-speaking, and the old status quo, old white men would become desperate men without solutions who will then be dangerous. This is exactly where we are today. But from 72 until now, there have been several instances of police brutality, police murders. There has been, New Bedford became eligible for the Community Development Block Grant because of the uprisings here, not because it was a large enough municipality to be eligible for it. So, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars have been coming to the city since 1975, using what they call South Central, where I was born, that neighborhood in the West End, using the statistics of the residents and stakeholders in those neighborhoods to qualify for those funds. 40 years later, the minuscule of those funds have been used to create sustainable development and remove blight in our communities. Maybe they've built some houses, some sidewalks, fixed a couple of parks, but they have done nothing to affect the economic, sustainable growth and development of our communities. I live across from Monty Park. I've owned the building for 32 years. I go back and forth to the vineyard where I work because I can't get a good job here because of my ability not to compromise. Anyway, I look out of my window and I've watched generation after generation of young black boys whose lives have been lost to drugs, death, and incarceration. And enough is enough. So as we gather here with all these people in our hearts and with more information, which we all need to educate ourselves, we all need to have our local demands, and one of those demands two of those demands need to be a complete, transparent accounting of all the money that the police spent in the city, and a complete accounting of all of the funds that the Office of Community Development, the hundreds of millions of dollars that they've received. We want a full accounting of, in transparency, of all the money they've received and where they've spent it. And with those two demands met, it will clearly demonstrate what systematic and systemic exclusion is. And that's what's happening. This system works exactly as it's designed to work. Make no mistake, it works well. And the better it works, the worse our lives and the future of our children's lives are. But we have the courage, because we have shown it over and over and over again, to stand up, move forward, and demand these things. And if we continue to do this and not let up, God is so good. And this COVID-19 pandemic, which is a terrible, terrible thing, but if you're doing the right thing, you can save yourself. But during this pandemic, it has given hundreds of thousands of people the ability to get in the street and truly demonstrate what they feel. Black, brown, white, Asian, all of us Americans, we need to continue to do that. God bless you, God keep you, and let's keep going. And the slogan of the Black Panther Party, it was and still is, power to the people. That's the only part of the slogan that the system ever recorded. The full slogan was and is power to the people, peace and love to the world.
Can we say that out loud? Power to the people. Peace and love to the people of the world. Peace and love to the people of the world.